It's so warm in here, so please don't be surprised if there's a short break for refreshment. Dear friends, let me once again greet and welcome you here in Bratislava. I'm glad that our Mr. Belvisenek, who is serving Hungary today, has joined us. Paulis, welcome. I think it's a significant position in a significant country, and we wish you all the best so that your mission is fulfilled as we all expect it to be. Why are we meeting today and not, let's say, in December, or, as we did the last few years, in November? Because there are various circumstances that we have to react to in time. When I see Janko Richter, Janko, where are you? Here. And other representatives who may have served in the Democratic Party, I remember that our reaction in that party was very slow. It took us some time for all the bodies to come together and be able to react to some events that took so long that it was already after the event, and that's how the party ended. So please, take this date as an inevitable date, because there are some things that we have to react to today or in the next few hours, in the next few days. First of all, we have to realize that we are in the middle of a ruling period. It's a time when we have to stop and say whether we will continue like this in 2026 and 2027. Next, we have a dirty job behind us. And that dirty job is the consolidation that we had to do because the previous governments left us what they left us. The media don't like to hear it when we say that we received the worst public finances in the whole European Union. That's true in 2023, and we could have done it like I said yesterday at the conference in France. We could have said, let them like it. Do what you have prepared. But I think that we are a responsible political party that has been here since 1999. And we know that to make order in the public finances is the interest of the whole country. And the interest of the country has to be in our party in the first place. Only then can it be the interest of the party. The third event is very unpleasant, and that is the eternal battle that we are waging with the European socialists. They have already expelled us twice, then they have postponed our membership, and then they have suspended us. That is simply a chain of events that has been going on for several years because we cannot coordinate our leftist politics, the original Slovak one, with the views of the Brussels socialists, who have completely different priorities and see it in a completely different way than we do. That is why I have proposed to the presidency and all my close colleagues that we should meet today. We are waiting for the count in the National Council. I think it is good that we are going to the counting in such a consolidated way. And we are also waiting for a Congress or a meeting of the European Socialists, where probably some decisions regarding our party will be made. And we have to react to all of this. I have proposed to the presidency, but also to other all-regional functionaries, as well as to the local ones, 10 messages and resolutions of the working agreement that you have as a proposal at your disposal. I think it is a simple manual of what we should do for the elections in September 2027. Thank you for sending several notes that have been processed. If you do not see your notes processed by chance, please talk to the Proposal Commission. If you think that anything needs to be added to this document, we can do that during today's counting. Today, I am going to speak as a person who wants to give you a reason for this material. We will go point by point, and at each point I will try to add details that do not belong to this strategic material. But of course, the details need to be mentioned. Our first task, dear friends, is that the direction of Slovak social democracy as a decisive and most stable party of the current government coalition declares a legitimate interest and a clear course to complete its fourth government term. We have won 5 parliamentary elections in 2010 with 34%, but sometimes you can win parliamentary elections, but you cannot stop the government. But I think that there are no reasons for us to think that there will be premature elections or that this will be a simple concession. And we write in this document that there are no reasons or alternatives for parliamentary elections to take place sooner than in any term in 2027. And of course, one of the basic prerequisites of such a stable scenario is the approval of the state budget for the year 2026. I did not put it there as a suggestion, but I say it very clearly. We cannot have any other ambition than to win parliamentary elections. We cannot set lower goals. Please. A German politician said in the past that people should not know two things, how parks and laws are made. And I add how public opinion polls, you should not let yourself be disturbed. It is not possible, I have never commented. I will not comment on public opinion polls. But it is not possible for someone to throw out what comes to his mind. I remember a few years ago when research agencies offered us that they would give us a percentage of more than 10,000 euros. We know where we are, we know what we have done, what a difficult time we have behind us. We have done an extremely dirty job when it comes to consolidation, and we could leave it to them, but we did it. And therefore another ambition, friends, which is to win elections, cannot exist. Maybe this is an alternative that we see in our eyes. It is not simple. There are no reasons. Elections will be in 2027 and we will win them. There is one thing I would like to ask you, and maybe we could do in connection with this point a public challenge for consolidation and at the same time for the unification of the higher regions of the SK8. My point is, if you have another opinion, please express it during today's discussion, that it would be best for the whole of Slovakia if we extended the 4-year mandate of the primaries, superiors and deputies, so that the elections of the regional cities would take place in 2027 after the parliamentary elections. I think we can do it today. So we are officially uniting the cities of Slovakia SK8. Please, colleagues, think about this proposal because we cannot order anything to anyone. But if you agree with this idea, then we can make appropriate legislative changes. It is more practical because we should consolidate the municipal elections and what will happen in September 2027 in the parliamentary elections. It is an important thing. I know that the opposition is very nervous about it. Just like when we ask the primaries superiors at small meetings, for example, when there is a meeting of the government, most of them agree and say that they know and can imagine it. So we are sending this request to the representatives of the local and regional municipalities so that they can deal with it. As the second point in this document, we propose that participation in the government is a direction for Slovak social democracy, not only as an opportunity to fill the essential pillars of our political program, but above all with the responsibility of the west of the state, building its social dimension, and for the political stability and peaceful orientation of Slovakia. The direction of Slovak social democracy has thus approached the consolidation of public finances reversed by the previous governments in the years 2020-2023. However, the consolidation effort in the year 2026 will be prioritized by measures aimed at improving the selection of taxes and the fight against tax evasion. The direction of Slovak social democracy has called on the representatives of the local and regional municipalities to adopt the necessary measures in the next 3 months of this year. So what are we talking about? First of all, we have to say, as I have already pointed out in the introduction, that we have our own party interests. Of course, we have them. But first of all, we have to make sure that the state functions. Therefore, I would like to ask you to make it clear that we have to continue improving public finances even in the year 2026. And the minister knows this very well. By the way, thank you for the enormous effort you have made to consolidate the state budget. We did not hide. At all the press conferences, we stood up and looked straight into the eyes of the people and said, yes, we have done the consolidation because we had to do it. And we did it as it was possible. Next year, which will be the pre-election year, will be a year when we have to look at the consolidation of public finances from a completely different angle. Therefore, next Wednesday there will be a huge meeting which will be dedicated to tax evasion. to things that may be more effective in tax evasion. But we will also think about how to continue the Slovak economy, how to get more investments here to us. You know, we have so many subsidiaries. Everyone says that the economy should be higher than 1% because Germany and the whole of Europe, the National Bank of Slovakia, is 0.5%. If Peter Kazimir is offended that we do not want to elect him as the governor of the National Bank, then I would like to point out that he was already betrayed, and we did everything we could for them. I do not see any reason to elect Peter Kazimir as the governor of the National Bank of Slovakia. I respect that this position belongs to the vote. I respect it absolutely. Let them come with a man who will be a valid candidate for this position. And we, of course, will get such a man to his position. Dear friends, if we look at where we are at the moment, we have to realize that not only a discussion about taxes, we also have to face a discussion about tightening the state. We did not have enough opportunities for that. And you know what kind of turbulence the government coalition was in. I would like to remind you that I am among the prime ministers who devote 80% of their energy to conflicts in the government coalition, or to resolving disputes between individual people. Not among us, we are fine. The club did not fall apart. The club fell apart with our coalition partner and we had to solve it. Yes, today it is a very atypical composition of the government coalition. But if we did not make this decision, then this government coalition does not exist today. The topic of tightening the state means to me that we have to sit down until the end of this year and ask ourselves simple questions. Do we connect the government for public care with the anti-monopoly government? And do we create one government, for example, for the economic competition? Are we ready to talk about other established organs of state affairs, where we see that there is an opportunity to save money and get into the position of more effective performance of state affairs? But if we want that, if we want to have, Mr. Minister, if you want to confirm the profit from these things, we have to do it this year. Therefore, I propose let's focus on the budget. In February, the budget proposal could be submitted to the National Council of the Slovak Republic in the evening. I will not talk about the tactics now. We talked about it for a while with Mr. President of the Embassy Club, because with the budget, it is not even possible to shorten the conversation. You have to let everyone talk what they think is necessary to talk about the budget. But we cannot afford to waste time listening to 3 weeks of hammering empty slogans, because those who caused it go to the stands today and shout how bad it is, how dangerous the consolidation is, how I don't know what, the budget. We are going the right way. The deficit for next year is going down. That is extremely important. In addition, we have kept all other parameters. We have the lowest unemployment rate in history. We can further state, dear friends, that real gaps will increase next year. We can also say that there will be a lot of pressure to increase the minimum gap, which is gradually getting closer to 1,000. It is a matter of a short time. We can understandably talk about many external factors, but in general, I think it was a dirty job. It is not our fault. We made a dirty job for someone else. So I think the approval in the state budget, if we manage to do it in a reasonable time, let's say up to 2 weeks, creates an absolute forecast for the elections in 2027. And it creates a forecast for us to focus on the topic of what we are going to do next year. How to deal with the increase in the state budget. We are all mumbling here. Let me say one thing. Please, Lako, you will know this better than I do. I did not believe my own ears. 207,000 citizens were granted a tax exemption from zero. 207,000 citizens were granted a tax exemption from zero. Not even €1 was paid for this state. And I do not believe that the economic situation would be so bad, because we know that people are working. I am fully aware that being employed on your own, and even sometimes giving a job, is very demanding. But we have to answer the question of when this grey state that is still behind us will end. You laughed at it last time. I will repeat it again. I gave myself something to fix, and they asked me without hesitation whether to fix it or not. Are you normal when you ask the government if we will do it without taxes? The first thing that would happen is that the media would jump on me and say that I did it without taxes. And this is normal. Billions are running away from us. Of course, we also need to get used to it when it comes to the environment. Whether it is the automobile industry, I think these were the right steps. I am closely monitoring the office of the Chancellor of the Czech Republic when it comes to its position in 2035 and the ban on selling cars with combustion engines. These are different things. These are energies, gases. We will talk about all of this later. So the Employment Ministry is calling its competent government representatives to take unavoidable measures in the next 3 months of this year. We will sit down and prepare. If necessary, there will be an independent meeting of the National Council. The National Council will be able to decide on this by the end of November or December. The opposition may not be able to tell us what the National Council is supposed to decide on. I know it is complicated. I know how difficult it is to communicate with coalition partners. But if someone is supposed to be the driving force of this coalition, and if someone is supposed to come up with ideas, then it will be us. And we will be there no matter what. Allow me. As a point number 3, we propose that the Employment Ministry sharply rejects the practices of the anti-government actors in the media, political parties, and in other areas of economic and social life, which create an untrue image of Slovakia and which are a source of hatred and intolerance. The Employment Ministry of the Slovak Social Democracy urges its representatives at all levels not to ignore this deceitful opposition tactic, and to provide the public with relevant information on the economic and social situation in Slovakia, a country with an exceptionally open and export-oriented economy. Do you know what happened in the last 25 years in politics? Our sense of sensitivity was completely lost. What we considered unacceptable 15 years ago, and we jumped like devils from a box. Today we take it as normal. We read some comments that we should be dehumanized, that we should be shot and killed. We take it as normal. We take it as normal, no matter how stupid it is written about Slovakia. If this were the truth that our friends in the media and our opponents in politics, and even today the industrialists talk about Slovakia, then this country does not exist. I heard that Tomáš Taraba was organizing meetings at the Economic and Social Council, and that he mentioned a relatively big truth. I cannot hear, ladies and gentlemen, that this is a country where everything goes to the average, where average products are made. And what do I, ladies and gentlemen, the industrialists, forbid you to make better products? If you want to make better wagons, then make better wagons. If you feel that average wagons are enough and then you sell them somewhere on the market in Russia or somewhere else, then that is your problem, but it is not my problem. No one in the government creates any obstacles for anyone who is interested in bringing innovations and first-class products to do so easily. On the contrary, our policy on all 4 sides of the world ensures, and here is Mr. Minister, here is Mr. State Secretary. In China, we were clearly told that we are a country where we will not have problems with licenses if people go to precious, unripe, and some lands that we need for automobile industry. On the contrary, we are doing everything so that our industry does not have such obstacles that other countries may encounter. I reject this nihilism, I really do. This country is, of course, exposed to great challenges. Many things do not work for us. We know that well. But 1.3 million people from travel agencies traveled abroad. Another million people went their own way. And we can use more and more arguments. Yes, we can talk about Slovak healthcare from morning to evening. But where is it, dear friends? And once again, where is it? Only 2 resorts will get more money in the year 2026, and that is education and healthcare. When we ended our period, I remember that the number of people who went to healthcare was around 140 billion crowns. We are talking about 3.5 billion euros. Lacko. How much? 9? We have 9 billion compared to the year 2010. And everyone says that nothing works, that nothing is. If that is so, why does everyone who works in England or France run to Slovakia to see a doctor? Why? Everyone is doing their own thing. But I repeat once again, I recognize that this country, which is a big problem, is an export-oriented country. We are open. We feel anything. When Volkswagen takes a vacation longer than it should, we have a problem. Don't you think that we don't feel the problem that Land Rover had in Jaguar, that it would stop working? These are huge accidents that we all feel. So I want to ask you, dear friends, I want to ask you very much. We have done so much and we are doing so much. Let's not let things take it away. And these are symbols. When there is nothing, point your finger at the Bratislava castle that we stole. Well, no one stole it. It's still there. And those who shouted went there to take pictures of all the billboards in front of the elections. Everyone wants to have a renovated Bratislava castle behind them. We should be ashamed that we have now dug up the whole Slovakia. And look, I have to appreciate Jose Raza. He goes like a rocket. I applaud you. Good choice. We are doing things at such a pace that I have never seen a hospital built in Prešov. We started a year and a half ago when there was nothing. A year and a half ago we made the first decision that Prešov Hospital will go to the military area. In 2027 there will be a 1,000-bed super-modern hospital with everything. And they claim that there is nothing here. Like nothing works here. Please, again, I look at the cameras because I know they will edit it again. We are fully aware that the country is full of problems. I am fully aware of that, but I deny the nihilism. That there is nothing here. And people have nothing. Why then, when people have nothing, does the right wing say that the first decision to be made should be to cancel the 13th bill? Everyone says that the social system of bills is so unbearable that we will have to change it. That means that if someone says that he will change the social system in the area of bills, he is talking about reducing bills. Say that to everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, when the right wing comes and these unhappy people who caused this mess come, the first thing they do is reduce the bills and cancel the 13th bill. That will be the first step, because they don't know anything. What else will they come with? What other measures will they bring? So we respond to this nihilism and we will have to react. Let's get back to the issue of sensitivity. Because we think that so much has already been said, no one is aware of it. It doesn't matter. It's not like that. People need to hear some hope. Let's not let people think that this country is completely messed up. There is nothing here, because it's not like that. It's not that simple. Who goes through these villages sees huge development. I like Hungary, but our country is better than Hungary. There is no doubt about that. I say this with full respect to Viktor Orbán and the Hungarian government. This is simply the reality. And maybe there are a million other arguments that confirm this. So point number 3 of our document is extremely important. We have to go a little more offensively. We have to talk more about it. Maybe that's why we need to go through the buildings and show the heights. Look, this is what we are building. Or this is what we are going to do at this moment. I am glad that the government in Serrano is going to build a huge battery factory. Despite the fact that it evokes various controversial attitudes, it is a mega factory that we need. We talk about electromobility and the transition to electromobility as assault. We all admit that we cannot compete with China if we do not deliver this production to the European Union, and therefore also to the taxpayers. The working dream of the fourth direction is facing any opposition and media challenges to hate and dehumanization of the voting direction, and the demand of its representatives to react sharply to such dangerous tendencies. I repeat the word sharply. The return of legal proceedings, as well as the protection of freedom of expression and the right to a different opinion, must become one of the most important features of the direction's policy in the next 2 years. I quoted Himmler, And I will quote him again because it bothers them when we say these quotes, because they know very well why we say them. According to Himmler, the war was a battle of race and ideology. On the one hand, there was a beautiful German nation with a beautiful culture and a fantastic life. And on the other hand, there are hundreds of millions of subordinates who basically do not know who they are, and their names cannot be correctly pronounced. And their physical nature is based on the fact that you can kill such a person on the spot. This is the concept of dehumanization. A German newspaper in Slovakia, without any problems, published a statement or a comment by a madman. I am not saying that Peter Schulz is a madman, and we normally say it out loud when we realize what kind of people they are. I hope you agree with me. Thank you very much. We know what we are talking about. And they have no problem saying that if you meet a madman, dehumanize him. What we are going to do on May 15th, we are going to, without any problems, read comments like they were supposed to finish him off, and he is to blame for it that they wanted to shoot him, and it is a pity that they did not shoot him. Robo, what is the name of the place in Handlova? The place of the blind belt. On the maps in Handlova, the place is marked as the place of the blind belt. So he did not hit. You know, if we leave it like this and we realize that it is normal, and it is not about me, I have experienced it with your help, and I am in good condition. Although I am sometimes tired, although I sometimes have a problem with my health, but we cannot leave it like this. Just to say that if you meet a madman, dehumanize him. What am I supposed to do if someone recognizes you in some sport, and it is a normal way to behave? We have to file complaints. I know it is complicated and difficult, and it costs money, but we have to protect ourselves. We have to, because what is happening at the moment when it comes to our politics is totally unacceptable. Dear friends, in the National Council of the Slovak Republic, I turn to you. It cannot happen that a madman comes to you, to a football club as you are sitting there. He will take his phone and record you and say, "You moron, moron, moron." Do you know what we are talking about? And the other madman on the balcony will run there and record everything. If we were in a civil society, we would have a lot of fun. But we are not in a civil society, we are in a political society. That is why I call on you, Mr. President of the Slovak Football Club, to work with your coalition partners and find a new way to deal with these things. It cannot happen. It simply is not possible. I know many of you in the Slovak Football Club, and I know how many of you have big hands, and I'm sure many of you have sweated with your hands under the table. But you know you cannot do anything. But to be offended by such a person, deal with it. Because if we do not start there, if it is normal that a constitutional activist from the National Council can come and tell his colleagues in the parliament that he is a moron, then it is normal that he will take a gun and shoot someone. It is an important thing. This is also a question of our security. And I will support and thank you. We have a good legal team around Robak Kalinaka, David Lindner and others, who are ready to help with legal cases and proposals. But Lubos, you are often a subject of various disputes, and you know how important it is to have a qualified legal team behind you. I get to the fifth point, which is particularly sensitive. Working in this direction, Slovak social democracy is fully respecting the independence of the bodies of criminal proceedings. It expresses regret, and at the same time admiration, I would say, for the selective activity of the bodies of criminal proceedings in the case of an evident violation of the law by the anti-government actors, but also in the case of abuse of the state's criminal policy in the years 2020-2023 in the eyes of the political opposition, especially in the eyes of the representatives of the Smer Party, Slovak Social Democracy. It is a fact that the Smer Party, Slovak Social Democracy, does not control the Ministry of the Interior, and we do not control the Prosecutor General either. We have no choice, because the Prosecutor General was the candidate of Boris Kolára, if I remember correctly, when he was elected. I think it was the side of Boris Kolára who appointed the Prosecutor General for this function. It is incredibly harmful to us, and we have nothing to do with it. It is incredibly harmful to us that we point out serious violations and people ask, okay, but why don't you arrest him? And how should I arrest him? I cannot tell the Minister of the Interior to arrest this man. I cannot call the prosecutor and tell him to arrest this man and file a complaint against him. But that does not mean that we will be quiet. It is enough. It is incredibly harmful to us. Because in the years 2023, we spent a lot of energy on telling people what was going on in the years 2023. And again, we forgot about it. We forgot about it. You see, now we are sitting here in a white shirt, in a tie, in a miniskirt, in a t-shirt. But no one was sitting here at all. Some people died in the years 2023. Voting Tibor 76-74 in my case meant that if the voting had been reversed, we would not be here today. Because we would have been in the parliament until the parliamentary elections without any hesitation. That is why we cannot be quiet and pretend that everything is fine. It is not fine. And the Prosecutor General can get mad at me as much as he wants. If a member of DNI or DNI comes out, he will do it very quickly. But when we hold a press conference with a huge number of evidence about how people make a living on state money, how they smuggle substances, he will answer us that he does not know the public indictment. But I do know the case of ex ofo. Every prosecutor has a duty to act when he hears information about smuggling of criminal offenses. That is why I do not know, and we will not do it. I will not, like Mikulec, Matovic or Lipsik, organize meetings. Tibor, you know very well what meetings they organized. We will not do it. We have never done it. But you know very well what people tell you. Do not talk about it. Be quiet, because you have not done anything to that person. It is our huge handicap. Maybe it is caused by the fact that we do not have the Ministry of Interior, and we do not have more active people who would lead the investigators. Please, do it. If there is any evidence, do it. Nobody wants to shut anyone up. But the threats that were imposed have to come to light, and we have a huge moral burden. How did the president end up in prison? I cannot even call him president. He was justly sentenced for treason. The president of the Slovak Republic was justly sentenced for treason. Of course, all the media say it is not true. It is quiet. Everything is fine. Nothing is happening. How should we look at the presidential elections in 2014? Were they fair? Of course they were not fair. And what can you do about it? Nothing. What should we talk about when we see Sarkozy in France? He took money from Gaddafi, and I still did not understand what Gaddafi was telling me when I was with him. He was still telling me that we have friends in Europe. We are helping them. He probably knew what he was talking about at the time, and then it happened. We should be ashamed when we see Mr. Former Commissioner Reinders, who was wise here, but when we were sitting with him, and he was telling us that there are crimes here, he was telling us that these are individual cases. Let it be a system. Today they suspect money laundering. I would be shocked. And these people are telling us that we are... I don't know how I will get to PSK, von der Leyen. I am trying to be very... Of course, she is a colleague, and she is sitting there as a chief of commission. I should be texting with Pfizer, or some other things about buying. Thank you, Monica, thank you. What other possibilities do you have? Why didn't we support things that are simply... There is a list of relevant bodies, so you are asking the right question. That is why... I don't know. Again, I'm in a big trap because I don't want to make any mistake, so that someone doesn't say that we support criminal acts. But I refuse to accept that when a journalist writes that we are against criminal acts, he will change his mind. And when we come from the list of all the ministers, we will provide relevant evidence. He will tell us that he doesn't know the public criminal records. So what should I do? I should write him a letter and tell him, Mr. Prosecutor, I am filing a criminal report and the reasons are included in the application. I don't know what to tell you. It is a serious problem, But the years 2020 to 2023 cannot be forgotten. Again, it cannot be forgotten. We cannot forget that. The working dream of the direction takes into account the information about the proposal to exclude the direction of the Slovak social democracy from the side of the European socialists, the so-called PS, due to the 2 points in the constitution, and the participation of the party's chairman at the celebrations of the victory over fascism in several places around the world. The proposal to exclude the direction of the Slovak social democracy is the result of the long-term and gradual separation of the authentic Slovak left from the Brussels ideas about the values and priorities that the left and the Social Democratic Party, unfortunately, also about the place of peace in European integration and peace policy. The working dream regrettably states that the Party of the European Socialists does not want to allow the presence of representatives of the direction at the Congress, at which it is to decide about the exclusion. The working dream entrusts the presidency to make the decision on behalf of the PS before the Congress. The working dream currently entrusts the MPs of the European Parliament for the direction to consider their inclusion in another existing or emerging faction, where there will be greater understanding and space for the consolidation of the strategic outlook, under which the central theme of the future of Europe and Slovakia should be the measure of economic prosperity and the resulting quality of life of the citizens. Similarly, the balanced attitude towards sovereignty within the framework of European and transatlantic integration, especially when it comes to vital interests of the member states, including the smaller ones. It is, let's say, an inconvenience. I am a little indignant, I must admit, but I think that it is a logical development to which it has come after many years. Monica, I noticed for the first time when I came to the socialist faction in the European Parliament, and I had a speech where we talked, it was 2006, 2010, we were doing legal work, we were doing big amendments, we were really bringing up significant topics of the leftist character. I gave a speech. A lady from the Netherlands stood up and told me that Robert, of course, he is a family man. Nobody is interested in this. I will believe you the second you are a leftist if you are at the head of the homosexual movement in Bratislava. And I will hang some kind of banner, completely serious. Completely serious. Then I realized that there is not everything as it should be. Then, you know, they stopped our membership because of cooperation with the Slovak National Party for the first time. Then, for the second time with the Slovak National Party. Now they stopped our membership again. So it is not like something happened now. It is a long-term dispute between us, and we have to solve it. Please, if you have any opinion, please express it. But the best solution will be to leave it to the President, who will decide whether we take the first step or wait for the decision. I had a phone call with the President of the European Socialist Party, the former Swedish Prime Minister. I don't know if I can talk about it on the phone. Can I? First of all, I was told that every right-winger knows more than two heads. Secondly, I was told that some German colleagues are nervous when we go to celebrate the victory over fascism. The top candidate had an announcement for Germany that he doesn't want me to meet with Putin and Xi Jinping, that socialists can't accept Putin's or Chinese president's friends. I am not a friend of Putin and Xi Jinping, we are colleagues, and it is my duty to meet with them. On the contrary, I think that many people say it out of jealousy, because they don't even get close to them for 3 kilometers. They can't even talk about things that are important for Slovakia. Next, of course, I try to argue that we have a Jewish policy. We have a country that has historical roots. People somehow live. They are religiously oriented. Educate those religious people. Teach them that there are 4 heads and not 2. He told me that he doesn't care about our projects like free trains, that we deal with the unknown, that we have legal work, that the minimum wage is close to 1,000 euros. No, these are values. Where are the values? I say, okay, Stefan, I can come, but where are the values? I think we have to solve this because we are somewhere else. Until now, Brussels and Liabeach don't want to understand that if you want to survive in a specific country, you have to make a policy for a specific country. You can't make a policy that is dictated by Brussels. I asked Stefan, tell me, how many socialist and Liabeach prime ministers do you have? You don't even know them. You don't even know them. But these are values. They have values. And they don't have anyone. This is how politics should look like. What should I, dear friends, ignore? If I asked you how many of you go to church on Sundays, maybe 3/4 of you would raise your hand. Because that's normal. That's Slovakia. What should I ignore? Should I ignore the historical roots of this country? Should we pretend that we are different and that we will raise Slovak citizens to something that simply doesn't work? But maybe we have other priorities. Liabeach's policy can't be about homosexuals, for Christ's sake. Who hurts them? And there are still LGBTI people and LGBTI people and LGBTI people. No one hurts anyone here, no one. And I consider the decision that we made after the definition of marriage as the only relationship between a man and a woman, that we closed 2 chapters and other things, to be extremely important. How nervous are you that I won't be able to go to school with those stupid lectures anymore? Because you know that I need parents' consent. I don't have small children, but I wouldn't want someone to wipe the brain of a 10-year-old boy or girl with some nonsense. I've heard that children have the right to self-identification. And what is that? What, that I sit down and say that I'm a dog, a cat, or a lamp? Where am I? Therefore, a very right decision. You hear this decision, and you know that it absolutely falls into the Slovak territory. Absolutely. You have no reason and not even a centimeter to complain about the change in the constitution of the Slovak Republic that we made. On the contrary, we are still going further. We are doing typical left-wing projects, so we can ask our left-wing comrades who taught you to hunt for free at school. Who taught you that? These are symbols. What kind of job do we have, Janko? If we didn't have such a job, it would be much more complicated today. And that's why I'm very happy about what Tarabashevka said yesterday at the Confederation of Security Services at the meeting. We will also have to sit down and talk about how to set up cooperation. The security services are our strategic partners. We have to cooperate. And we have to say what should be included in the cooperation. You know, it seems that we are responsible for the consolidation. And instead of protesting in front of those who caused the consolidation, it's good that we are not the biggest left-wing creatures who take steps or make decisions that harm people. We did the consolidation the way it was possible. It's not easy. I'm glad that we kept the 13.2% and the energy aid. Everyone is excited about the impact of the energy tax. People will get money. We need 430 million euros or 420 million. At the moment, we have collected around 380 million. I'm talking about European projects and media. It won't be from European money, it will be from European money. We collected at home. It's still European money. Of course, we are looking for everything in the world. To be honest, we don't guarantee that the energy aid will be guaranteed. 90% of people know that. We didn't touch the 2-step system. We didn't touch anything. We guarantee the social system. On the contrary, if the right-wing government comes, the first thing they will do is to reduce the 2-step system. I guarantee you that. They won't know how to do it any other way, only this way. And we, Mr. Minister, with all this mess, higher education, higher health care, energy aid, we kept the 13th 2-step system. We did everything that was necessary. Everything. Of course, there were also unpopular decisions. But that's behind us, because 2026 is a year when we will deal with the public finances in a different style. The working dream is to put all its representatives at all levels of the parliamentary and government power to finally reimagine the concept of a sovereign Slovak foreign policy and position oriented to protect the national interests of Slovakia in all areas, especially when it comes to ensuring the supply of energy at reasonable prices. Mr. Minister, what is our list of the 9th strongest countries in the world? 7th, 8th. We have the 9th strongest country in the world. Can you guess where you will end up with this list? From 183 countries, we have the 9th strongest country. Why? Because we agreed with China without visas. We have Vietnam without visas. There are more and more countries which are adding up, which is very important for mutual relations and for business. That's why a sovereign foreign policy oriented to all four sides is not a flask. It is a real performance that we are doing on a daily basis. We are very worried about these energies. I look at the decisions that I always understand 100% by Slovakia or China. We are being threatened that if we don't stop extracting oil and gas from the Russian Federation, there will be some tariffs imposed against us. On January 1st, 2028, the repowering should start paying, which means that we won't be able to extract Russian gas through Turkstream as we do today. I'm not even talking about oil. There is a lot of dirty politics in it, and there is no principle at all. Everyone wants to do it at the same time. Unfortunately, we are from a country that was at the beginning of the pipe and became a country that is at the end of the pipe. If you are at the end of the pipe, you can have a big problem. We can't support repowering, and we won't do it either. I welcome the fact that other countries are voting against this crazy idea of the European Commission. Just as I said now, and I will stand for it, that the European Commission should propose some meaningful proposals when it comes to the automobile industry and when it comes to energy prices. I'm not an energy expert. Energy experts in Europe tell me that it's up to us how we set the energy prices. It's up to us. Then why do we have electricity several times more expensive than the United States or somewhere else? Why? Who makes money on it? Who cares that our industry is not competitive and is able to make high prices? Who cares that if the flow of gas from Russia stops, we will be forced to import fossil gas or other gas that will be more expensive? Everything will be more expensive again. How can we compete? Therefore, the concept of a sovereign Slovak foreign policy, oriented to all four sides, proved to be viable, and no one can deny it, because we don't betray anyone. We don't betray anyone. We are continuing to work with them, and to convince our government representatives to continue to support the membership of the Slovak Republic in the EU and NATO in the difficult period of their adaptation to geopolitical and economic changes, and to make maximum efforts to re-establish our sovereign views and interests in these two important international organizations in order to ensure peace in the European space and its economic prosperity. We know where we are and what we want, but we cannot agree with any stupidity. This is our sovereignty. If something happens in the EU, we will come and say we have a different opinion on it, and we have the right to a different opinion. So we have a lot of things in common. In my opinion, this is exactly what we have to do. The working direction of the entire Slovak public primarily highlights that the policy of peace belongs to the basic pillars of the party, which is the fastest end of the most significant military conflicts in Ukraine and Gaza. At the same time, the public emphasizes that it does not allow to drag Slovakia into any military adventure for which there are no moral, historical, or international legal reasons. We are looking forward to the development in Gaza. I hope it will go well. It has nothing to do with humanity or anything else. The sacrifices were huge. Again, we talk little about it. We sent 6 tons of humanitarian aid. It was thrown into the Gaza Strip through Jordan. Hundreds of families helped each other with basic necessities. This is an approach. However, let's not get used to a clear position when it comes to the war in Ukraine. We will not donate any weapons to Ukraine. It is worth it. If you want to buy something, buy it. If we don't sell it, someone else will. But we will only help where it is humanitarian. I almost fainted when I heard that the donation of a military equipment is a military equipment. What kind of military equipment? It is a humanitarian necessity. The UDS, which I am talking about now, is a military equipment that is needed in the Bagram, in the Tatra Mountains, which help in the droughts and in simple repairs. This is a military equipment. I will say it again so that there are no doubts. The government I lead will not donate any weapons to Ukraine, not even ammunition. If you want to buy something from Ukraine, have enough money, buy it. Just like they buy from others. But we are humanitarianly prepared to go to all the projects we are doing. I look forward to seeing you next week on Friday in Kosice or Michalovce, where we will discuss the cooperation between Ukraine and Slovakia, where I want to focus on good projects. This war hurts me a lot, the war I see in Ukraine. And whenever I meet President Putin or anyone else, I always open this topic. It is possible, however, that this war has no solution yet. It has no solution yet, because probably no one has such influence on the Russian Federation as we can see in Gazeta, where a certain decision was made. But we cannot let the measure be taken, especially when you hear such heroic words like "let's fight," and who do you want to fight? And for what? If we did not declare mobilization, 97% of young people have bad legs or have an infection. Who would go? And for what? If we did not have a reason, once again, we do not have a war. You need a motive for a war. I talked a lot about the motive in Dukla. I understood what the motive was when people knew what they were going for. So many people died in such a small area that it was probably the bloodiest Hungarian war ever in Europe. But of course, soldiers fall somewhere, so a huge film is made out of it. We, as if we did not know how to sell this tragedy to the public and say, listen, this is what happened. There are stories about how they, with their own bodies, even though they did not know how to liquidate the Gulag, they filled the Gulag with their own bodies so they could move on. The measure is a word for us that will be decisive even in the election campaign, because we have been talking about it from the beginning, and we will continue to do so. And I will not listen to the unfortunate people who think that war is a computer game, that I will play on the computer, and then I will go and sit in a cafe in Bratislava and have a cup of coffee, and then I will sit again next to the computer and play war. This is not war. War is a terrible thing. I cannot imagine. It is not enough that they shot me in the stomach, and I said to myself, if this is war, then never, ever please, this must be the peaceful side. And we do not even think about anything else. And I propose, and I say it from this perspective, that the measure must become a principled word. Nothing is so important. Nothing. We can talk about the tax rate, whether it will be 1% higher or lower. But if there is no peace, and if someone is afraid that a missile or a bomb will fall into his garden, then we are done. Yes, we can know ideological battles if it is about the functioning of this state. But there are no compromises with war. There are none, especially in our country. We do not have any war. We do not have any enemies. I refuse to label this or that as a strategic enemy. We do not have any strategic enemies. Slovakia is a peaceful country, and everyone who is interested wants to make friends with us. And we are a small country. We have to focus on our own things, on our own problems, and not to undermine, as we see today, progressive Slovaks or Democrats, great fighters. I would have seen them already. I would have seen them already if something happened to them. But what would have happened? The working direction puts all members, officials, organizational committees to continue in politics of authentic Slovak social democracy, respecting national, historical, cultural and Christian roots, faithful to social justice and solidarity, with a strong emphasis on the real social needs of the citizens of the Slovak Republic, and favorable conditions for economic development as the core of the party. This final statement that we put in this material says that the dispute with the European socialists does not mean our deviation. They made the deviation, not us. If someone wants to see an authentic bench, let him come to Slovakia. This is an authentic bench. Of course, we are sometimes tough. We make tough decisions, we have tough statements. But this is an authentic bench. An authentic bench is when you guarantee good conditions for people, when people have a legal job, when you have a social system, when you have to take some kind of rights that we have in the social sphere. I believe that we are on the right track, civil method. All of this belongs to us. This is us. This is Slovakia. What are we going to do now? Until 1989, there was the Communist Party. I was a member of the Communist Party. And now we are here. Some of us who are even more ideological excluded than others, that we will not respect this. Am I supposed to be ashamed that I come from a village where the whole village is oriented as it is oriented, because the Bratislava cafe wants it? This is an authentic bench. If we don't get out of this path, if we don't get out, now I ask you for one thing, because what you read, you see, must be terrible for you. I understand you. I sometimes have enough of it. I recommend to everyone, give yourself for another 2 weeks a patch on your eyes and a baton to your ears. But I do not doubt even a second that if we continue as an authentic bench and let Mr. Stefan talk to me, what is his name? Former Swedish Prime Minister, whatever. If we continue as an authentic bench, we will win the election in 2027. Thank you very much.
V roku 1989 bola komunistická strana, ja som bol členom komunistickej strany. A že za to teraz sme tu niektorí, ktorí sú možno ešte ideologicky vyhranení ako niekto iný, že to nebudem rešpektovať. To sa mám za to hanbiť, že pochádzam z dediny, kde celá dedina je orientovaná tak, ako je orientovaná, alebo si to želá bratislavská kaviareň. Toto je autentická lavica. Ak nezídeme z tejto cesty, priateľ, ak nezídeme, teraz vás prosím o jednu vec, lebo to, čo čítate, vidíte, musí byť strašné pre vás. Ja vás rozumiem, ja mám toho niekedy dosť. Ja vám všetkým odporúčam, dajte si ešte na 2 týždne klapky na oči a dajte si vatu do uši. Ale ja nepochybujem ani sekundu o tom, že ak budeme ďalej pokračovať ako autentická ľavica, a nech mi rozpráva pán Štefan, jak sa volá? Löfven, bývalý švédsky premiér, čo chce, ak budeme pokračovať ako autentická ľavica, my tie voľby v roku 2027
If you like this video, then like, share and subscribe to Mirror Now.